you having a smooth Sunday? You're jamming out. It's just me today. We're talking about home builders, and you guys are pretty much going to dictate what we talk about in the chat here on YouTube and Facebook. Anybody that's watching, make sure you hit that little like button that you're glad. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad I'm here. I almost missed it. I literally almost missed it. I was running to my office to get here. I did not realize how late it had gotten. My husband says, "Hey, it's 3:25. You want to go out there and do your show?" I'm like, "Holy cow, where did the time go?" Oh my God. And I've been ready for hours. I mean, I had no idea. I was just registering my cats because I hadn't registered their microchips. And the time just flew past me. But I'm here now, and we're going to be talking about home builders. And they're finally, I think they might be listening to my channel because they're finally like realizing, oh, I think we need to make smaller, affordable homes to make the market more fair. Genius. Who would have thought of that? I guess Kristina Smallhorn did. So we're going to be looking at that article. And if there's anything you want me to look up, please let me know in the chat. If you have any questions, please put the word question first. But if you have something you want me to talk about, still write the word question first, and then we'll have a little discussion, or I'll pull up an article and we'll talk about it. I have no guests today, so that's why you guys are running the show. I do have a poll there that talks about home builders, and if you think it's a good idea or not. Hopefully we will remember to get to that poll in a bit. I want to get into it about 30 minutes in. We'll pull up that poll. It's really difficult for my husband to pull it up. I might have to do it. So, and if you don't know, my husband is the guy in the background. Excuse me. The guy in the background. I'm all frantic right now because I ran out here. I'm out of breath. Got a little nervous. Normally I can prep myself. So, all right, Eddie, whenever you get a chance, go ahead and put the article on the screen. I was pretty excited about this when this came out a few days ago. All righty. Here we go. Here it is. The big squeeze. The housing market is so unaffordable that builders have no choice but to build smaller homes. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. The pandemic boom, which caused national home prices to rise over 40%, coupled with last year's shock in mortgage rates, has resulted in a deterioration of affordability. Who knew? It's like they're so surprised by this. Like, nobody has been talking about affordability for the last 3 years. Fundamentally, every housing market in the country has overpriced right now. Matt Saunders, a vice president of building products research, said that that is generally true if you're looking at it from a housing cost to income ratio. As you know, right now, a good portion of Americans are using over 40% of their income just for housing. And that's ridiculous. You know that we're almost 7.2 or 7.1 million apartment homes short across the United States. That's why rent prices have been holding tight. In order to address affordability, the crunch many builders are facing is reducing size. There's an active response to builders to address these affordability concerns head on, finally. And one of the main kind levelers that they're pulling is reducing the square footage. So they're not going to give you a house for cheaper. They're just going to reduce the size, which I will tell you that a good portion of millennials will tell you that they just want a house of their own that they don't have to pay rent for. In several markets across the nation, the housing just doesn't feel attainable. Look no further than a couple earning around $225,000 annually, but feels as though they're owning a home if they were going to own a home in Los Angeles, it would be hilarious. A business owner renting in New York City, despite earning over $200,000, according to the Bank of America annual millennial housing survey, the lack of affordability is why attaining the American dream is becoming challenging than ever. And not only are builders addressing affordability for buyers, but they're also doing so for themselves. Relative to 2019 levels, costs for builders are up 35%. I understand that they're up 35% and they can address this. The Home Affordability Act that was being looked at by the current administration they had said that they were going to release some public lands that they owned that wouldn't be necessarily like for like parks or anything like that, but the government owns it. And they were looking to work with local states to turn those parcels of land into affordable homes, whether that would have been smaller single family homes, modular homes, manufactured homes, and even apartment homes. So they are looking at this. This could be done without the builders having to take the big hit on the price. And maybe we could even get those houses a scotch bigger. Interesting enough, though, it's not uniform reduction in square footage. Instead, it's a sort of trade-off within the home that can be seen. They're taking out the space out of the living room, or they're taking the space out of the other bedrooms, like the secondary bedrooms. You know, you have your main bedroom, which is usually the largest, and then the secondary bedrooms, they're going ahead and making those smaller, and then they're going to make the outdoor space much larger. And they're going to say the kitchen is going to be larger, the living room space will be smaller, so that way everybody could get together in the kitchen, because that's where everybody gets together anyway, so everybody wants to eat. But I mean, I guess just rearranging the floor plans so it makes it more, feel bigger. But I don't know. My last house, those rooms were so small. I was like, for the baby's room, I mean, we could fit a crib in there and a chair, and that was it. Like, we had to put all the clothes in the closet. There wasn't any other space. So I don't know how much smaller they can go on those secondary bedrooms. So anyways, I know I said I'd get to that poll at the beginning in about 30 minutes. I do want you to go ahead and participate in that poll, because I want to get your opinion. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this is a step in the right direction? Or do you think that there should be more incentives given to these home builders to build smaller homes? I think it could be done a lot faster, because once you put money in the mix, you can make them do it even faster. Building materials are so incredibly high, but if you could bring down the cost of land development in order for that to happen, then the homes could be built a lot quicker. Not only that, there's a ton of red tape when it comes to land development. When a project is like put in front of planning and zoning, it isn't like, hey, we're going to build this subdivision and here's the plat map. Yeah, sure, there's that. And then they have 70,000 other meetings about that specific plot of land, and somebody has to go out there and look at it, and then that person has to check that person's work, and it's a ton of red tape. It's not the same as like it was years ago. Like, a developer would come in, they say they want to build a subdivision, they turn in their plat map, they show them how they could do the electricity and the utilities, and it was, done within a couple of years. It's not like that now. It's like, so in some areas, I've heard in California, it can take up to 10 to 15 years before anything is ever approved, before they ever scrape the ground for a house. So if they eliminated some of that bureaucracy and allowed for them to build more affordable homes, I think we could get out of this mess a lot faster. But the affordability crisis is here, and that is the biggest crisis. I know everybody loves to talk about a crash, but we can't talk about something that isn't happening yet. But we can talk about affordability. And a lot of people really want a home, and they have good incomes, but there's no houses for them to buy. Even when the market for that brief period of time was in a lull, and you saw some of the major markets taking a bigger hit on home prices, that first-time home buyer, the houses at the bottom level, were still selling so fast. And right now, to this day, if you are in that first-time home buyer category in all major cities, they are still seeing bidding wars for the least expensive homes. That should never happen. And right now, over 40% of home buyers are first-time home buyers. And no matter what the market is, the first-time home buyers are what drives it. So we need to do something better. We need to do something a lot better. All right, that was me getting on my rant. I couldn't help myself. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to see some familiar profiles here that are always here. Diamond Rush Media, I can never say your name. Falsificationism. I see you there. There's some other ones too. There's only so many I can see. My camera is like right where the chat is. Maybe I can just stick this over here. Why don't I do that? Why don't I put it over here so I can see it better? Wow. Oh, that made it so bright though. Ew. Let's see if I can. Now I don't know where I put everything. Oh gosh. Now I don't know where I'm at. I hope I didn't hold on. There I am. I had too many tabs open. I'm trying to give myself a heart attack today. I totally am trying to give myself a heart attack. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Just put the word question first and we will get right to it. Eddie, anytime you want to throw those questions up, the chat today is running the show. So I'm a guest to you guys. I'm just a guest for you guys. Debbie Johnson has a question. Says, Kristina, do you know of any tiny home villages in Virginia? I do not know of any tiny home villages in Virginia. I'm hoping that this summer, I get a lot more people reaching out to me about their specific communities. Every time I'm always looking up these things, I would just type into Google, like tiny home community in Virginia. Just type that in Google and see what comes up. Or you can even put in like retirement communities. Sometimes there'll be smaller homes, but I haven't heard of any actual communities in Virginia itself. So, oh, look, Eddie's going to shut me up right here. Virginia tiny homes. Is it a community though, or is it just the tiny homes? It's just the tiny homes. Wind River tiny homes. Oh, it's a whole, I think that's just, look, Virginia tiny home communities. Look, Eddie's got it. Eddie doesn't have a microphone. So we're having to Autumn Sun community. Look at there. Eddie's got it all figured out. So whenever you get a chance, just jump over there on the old Google webs and check them out. That's cool. I didn't know about that. Thanks, Eddie. Eddie's saving the day for me today. Eddie's saving the day. All right. Maybe another question could be, should home builders be allowed to build smaller homes? Well, I don't see why there would be a problem. Now, I know that in many areas, you can't build a house smaller than a certain percentage of square footage. I even heard in one specific area, you couldn't build a house under 2,000 square feet. That's a lot of square feet. That takes up a good portion of dirt. But if you could build homes, I mean, I saw a really, really cute home, and it was 1,200 square feet. 1,200 square feet. And it was really proportioned out, really nice. It had great storage. Sure, the rooms were small, but you didn't feel like you're claustrophobic. And you could get tons of those little houses on a lot. It would always need the community approval. And for some reason, and it happens in a lot of areas, when you see houses like that wanting to be proposed in the area, the community seems to not want to back that up. They think it's going to bring down their property values. But I will tell you this, and I'm sure there's any praisers in the chat. When you have a community like that, the property values relate to that specific community. Now, if the whole community turns to garbage, it can bring your property value down in your specific area. But if it's kept up and, it's really kept up and the grounds are kept up and make sure that the neighbors don't let it go to garbage, there's no reason why it would bring down the property value of your home in another neighborhood across the street that's over 2,000 square feet. The property values have to normally relate to the neighborhood that it's in. Here in Louisiana, we just come right out of our neighborhood and you have like a farmhouse, then you have a manufactured home, and then you have a business, and then you have $600,000 houses. We're so eclectic. And there's nothing that's saying that manufactured home is going to bring down the value of the houses that are in the neighborhood that are over 600,000. It doesn't bring it down at all. So anyway, what classes them as smaller homes? So I would say anything under 1,500 square feet would be smaller. And I know that most areas don't allow for homes that are under 600 square feet. So any kind of tiny home would not cut it at all. So I'm saying like probably over 800 and under 1,500 in that range. So 800 to 1,500 square feet. That to me would be a smaller home, which is bigger than some apartments. My first apartment was only 800 square feet. And I always said, this would make a cute little house. The floor plan was perfect. Rizal has a question. Why isn't anyone talking about Columbus, Ohio? We're having 3 ghouls and Intel bunch of apartments being built in Canal, Winchester, Ohio, and Holmes. Whenever I have guests on here, they're all from all over the country. And I'm in Louisiana, and I just haven't had a guest from Ohio on in a long time. I'm sure that that's something I could look into if you want me to have an agent on here from Ohio. I would talk about it if I lived there. I didn't know that. I was very unaware of that. Sorry. I'll get on it though. I promise I'll get on it. I know so many agents. All I have to do is I have a group with over 10,000 agents. I run with another real estate agent, and I can ask somebody if you want there. Google announces 2 new data centers in central Ohio. How about that? Oh, you know what I want to ask the chat real quick? While Google's doing this, it made me think. So a lot of these big companies like Google, Apple, even Elon Musk over at SpaceX, they know that there's a problem with housing and finding affordable housing. So what they have been doing is building their own Google apartments. So if you have a job with Google, you can rent one of their apartments. I that just sounds terrible to me, in my opinion. If the affordability is that bad in that area and you've built a business there because you got some kind of tax credit, why can't you pay your employees enough money to live there in the first place? Why do you have to build housing for them to spend? Why do you have to build your own housing and charge them rent? I don't know. I don't know. I just can't wrap my head around it. I want to know if that sounds right to you, because years ago my grandfather would sit there and he would talk about the coal mining towns and how those people were just totally dependent on the companies that were running the coal minings. And when those companies went under, since they had their own housing and they owned all of it, once the coal mining company collapsed, they had nothing left. They had no place to live. They had no job. They had no money. And they were so dependent on that company. And then once it fell apart, their lives fell apart. And to me, that just kind of sounds like, what do they call it? Indentured. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I don't know. It just doesn't sound right to me. Debbie Johnson has a question. What is the difference between a park model, modular, and manufactured home? It seems that park models are available for tiny homes, but more expensive. Are park models well built? So a park model home is actually built to RV specifications. So it's designed to be traveled down the road. They are completely different specifications of being built than, let's just say, a modular home. A modular home is built to the same exact specifications as a traditional stick-built home. Sometimes they exceed those building standards. In a lot of cases, they do. Matter of fact, I'm a big fan of modular homes. There's no difference between a modular home and a traditional built home, except for most of the components are built in a factory, and they bring those modules of the house and they connect it together, like the living room connects in, and then once the living room comes in, then they connect the dining room in. So they're just sliding those rooms together like Legos. That's what a modular home is, but it's no different than a traditional built home, except for those pieces are made in the factory in a controlled setting. Now, a manufactured home, it will look like it's very similar, it just looks like a cylinder, one straight piece across. Sometimes they'll have siding on them. They usually have skirting on them. They have double wide, triple wide, single wide. That's a manufactured home, and it's built to HUD specifications, meaning that the government has approved these for certain kinds of wind speed. And you can look at all of the characteristics of those manufactured homes on the plate that's on either the inside of the cover of the switch, electrical panel. Thank you. Electrical panel. You look inside there, it will have the specifications of that manufactured home. In some states, they make you register that manufactured home with a license plate, but not all states require that. I will tell you too, though, the property taxes on a manufactured home in most states is just going to be a lot less money than it would be for a modular home. And with your park model RV, you wouldn't have property taxes that are attached to the actual home because it's a movable house. It's not intact. It doesn't stay centered in the home. You'll be able to move it because it's usually sits on wheels. Even though you may never move it, it's not considered real property because it's built to RV specifications. If anybody has a question, please put it in the chat. Excuse me, Eddie will put your questions up on the screen. You just have to write the word question first in order for us to see it. Would you live next to your coworkers for the right price? This company is betting yes. Oh, this was about what I was talking about earlier. Tommy Jones loves her job as a quality control inspector for Cook Medical in rural Spencer, Indiana, but she hasn't been able to find a place she can afford on her own. At the age of 47, she's squeezed into her sister's family's house. When Cook announced a year ago that it'd be built for hundreds of homes to sell to employees at below market rate, Jones was among the first to sign. Well, I mean, if she's not paying her mortgage to the company, right? If she's able to get her own mortgage, that seems right to me. If the company itself was going to build homes in the area, that it wouldn't be dependent on their job staying there, then that seems okay to me. Like, they built a neighborhood. We're gonna offer them to our employees first before we open them up to the public. But they get to purchase it and it's their home, whether they work there after they get the house or not. That seems fair to me. But if it has to do with their if it ties to their employment and they lose the house, Kristina says no, absolutely not going to do it. No way. Like, I don't think any housing should be tied to employment. That's always like, people get fired for all sorts of reasons. Think about how many people have gotten laid off in the last year. It's craziness. Eddie's going to go ahead and put up the next question for us. Yep. And after you pull up that next question, Eddie, make sure we pull up the poll. If you want me to do it, just put it in our little private chat here, and I'll put it up on the screen. Put it on the screen. Okay, here we go. Triathlete New York says, question, do you think they will start more tiny home communities in different states? Do you think they will eventually allow you to put a tiny home on wheels on your own property? So some states, like the state of Vermont, has loosened up the amount, the restrictions when it comes to tiny homes. So is the state of Maine. They are starting to open their eyes to the idea more than they had in the past. Before, they were like, absolutely not, because they had this envisionment of a bunch of hippies like living in a commune type of thing with no toilets. And now that they're realizing, and you guys may not even know this, but the majority of people that live in tiny homes are not young people. They're older people. And that's because it's the only thing they can afford. Everything they have left is a tiny home. Matter of fact, on my channel, there is a video out there that shows a woman who took a $6,000 shed and turned it into a home because that's all the money she had left for her house. So she's a friend of mine. She lives down the road, and she took $35,000 to fix it up, and she lives in a Home Depot shed, and she's retired, and that's all she could afford. So I think that if affordability continues to be the issue that we've been facing, they're going to have no choice but to start approving this more and more in each and every state, because this is the only thing left for people to be able to find a house of their own and not have to pay a landlord. We'll see. Time will tell. But I think the idea of tiny homes has gotten a little less like, ew, like it's dropped its ick factor, because so many people are like, I could never do that. Well, you may never be able to do that, but there's a lot of people that want to. So yeah, I think it's possible. I do think it's possible. And even a lot of states have opened up a lot more tiny home villages for nonprofits. So yeah, it's possible to open their eyes. Dina has a question. Says, why could small manufacturers make up a profit, but regular home builders build smalls can't? Okay, so when you're building a manufactured home, they're built in a manufacturing plant, and they're able to buy materials at bulk. Home builders aren't, because whenever there's a home project being done, they have to keep those materials somewhere, and a lot of times they just don't have the warehouse space that like a manufacturing plant has. They can buy bulk you know MDF board, they can buy bulk windows, they can buy all these things in bulk. And as well as I do, is you buy toilet paper at bulk, it's going to be cheaper. That's what happens with the building materials for modular manufactured homes. And your biggest names in the manufacturing business, I mean, they have plants everywhere. So of course the amount of what they're buying allows for them to even get it even cheaper. So that's why it's a lot less expensive for manufacturers to get materials than it is for just the regular standard home builder. Oh, thank you. Cute hairstyle. I got a new styling cream. Thank you, triathlete. I got a new styling cream, and I'm embracing my curls. My daughter is like, you always straighten out your hair. Put your curls out there. So I am. It's weird to me. It's weird looking. Question. Utah is so expensive now. I'm going to have to leave unless things are correct. Do you know anything about that region? I personally do not know much about Utah other than it's hot. I've been out there a couple of times. And I don't know which part of Utah you're talking about, but I was in South Utah. I have several real estate friends out in Utah that could help you with that. And the people that I know in the South said the home prices have come down some, but they've stabilized. They're not those houses, like I was telling you earlier, those houses in that entry level are still flying off the market. But those ones that are, over like 700,000, those ones will get more of a, you can negotiate a little bit more, but you're not getting in negotiations like you think you're going to. You're not getting $100,000 off. The market's still not that soft that you can get a good deal. There are deals to be had though, because a friend of mine, he was able to get a house for a family, and I was right at the $500,000 mark right there, and that was like a good deal. So they exist. You just got to work with the right real estate agent. MH08 says, my annual tax load increased by $1,750 this year in Denver. My property tax increased $1,000. It increased, and so did my homeowner's insurance. I was like, what the heck? No, my property taxes was like just under $1,000. It was like $900. And my homeowner's insurance was increased by $1,200. And we haven't had a storm here this year. So I don't know where that came from. Why are taxes increasing? Well, as property values increase throughout the area, that means that they can reassess the value of homes. So assessed value goes up, then your property taxes go up. Now, if you haven't yet, make sure to see if there's some kind of homestead, meaning there's like a tax exemption for your house. You can look there and see if you can apply for it. Some areas even have like a double tax exemption for people that are like over the age of 65, or they'll have another tax exemption if you were in the military. So check to see what your state's tax exemptions are, because you may qualify for it and get a deduction on your taxes. In some cases, if you're over, I've heard of freezing your taxes too. They can freeze your the rate that they go up after you're the age of 70. And so if you were paying at that time and you turned 70 and you were paying $1,000 a month for your property taxes, after you're 70, you'll never pay more than $1,000 more for your property taxes. I think that's a good idea, a very good idea. But some people don't agree with me. I like freezing taxes for the elderly. I mean, the cost of their medications alone will put anybody in financial ruin. Question: what do you think of the insane change in the Mountain West, as far as like Montana and stuff, like the prices there? Everybody saw an increase in prices. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Montana's beautiful, and it was untapped for so long. It was only about a matter of time before somebody said, you know what, we should start like really moving out here and start building out here. They have so much available for people to live in. And I don't know. I mean, if that's what you're talking about, like Bozeman and stuff. Yeah, of course they were going to go up in price. Of course. It was just a matter of time. Jess has a question. Says, would it be possible to turn something like a big shed or a kit into a small tiny home legally? What type of land would you recommend if you could get unrestricted? So you would want to have what they call rural track in order for it to have that piece of land. If you live in an area that is more urban, you can find unrestricted land. You just have to search for it. It takes some time. You would have to also work with the permitting office in order to get your shed up to code. There's going to be certain code that they're going to require in that area for it to be considered legal. And every single area is going to be completely different. Some areas are going to require that you have separate electricity, like you have two poles going out to the house. So there will be one to the main house and there'll be one to the shed home in the back. Some of them are going to require you to have some kind of septic system that would be separate. But every single area is going to have a different rules when it comes to that. But I'm sure it can be done as long as you work closely with your planning and development office. And bring them cookies every once in a while and be surprised, smile and some cookies. You get a lot done a lot quicker. We have a property that has a house behind a house. And it was because we didn't call it a house or granny flat or something. We just called it a game room. We were able to get it approved. I'm not saying, sometimes it's what you call it. Question: class action lawsuit against the city for fixing the market and not having housing issues. Is there a lawsuit? Which city are we talking about? Class action lawsuit against city for fixing the market and not having housing issues. Eddie, if you can look that up to see if there's some kind of news article on that. Now, I don't know how a city could have fixed the market unless they were holding vacant homes so to keep property values up. If the city was doing that, then yeah, that would make a class action lawsuit. But I don't know how. Eddie's going to look that up, see if that's available. MH08 says government is behind this corporate housing thing. They're trying to keep you out of your car and live in a transient or oriented development. Okay, so there is a semblance of truth on that. Let me do I have it? I think here, hold on, I got it. All right, let me put on my tinfoil hat. This is where I'm going down. There's no evidence to this, but I will say corporate lobbyists have worked many years to make sure that there was no laws in place that would prohibit or pause them from buying as many single family homes as possible. I will say that it wasn't the government's plan, because the government is really owned by a lot of corporations. I mean, every election is run by some corporation greasing that politician's off that, his palms, They wouldn't have got elected if they didn't work with a corporation. The corporation gets what they want. And we all know that, like, Blackstone, there's Blackstone, there's I can't even think of them all. There's Vanguard. There's so many of these companies that have been working Tricon to buy as many houses in the country, And of course, they're going to work to make sure that there's no restrictions for them doing it. And in the last 3 years, money was so cheap. Money was so cheap. It's so easy for them to get. It's a little harder for them now. So when everybody was like, oh, that's right. BlackRock is stop buying homes. They didn't stop. They just paused until the rates go down again. They're not like giving up their houses. Like, no way. They have their hands in every single business in the United States. Any successful business, it's either you look at their board of directors and somebody from Blackstone, BlackRock, Vanguard are on their board of directors. They run this country. They run it all. It's crazy. CAR Housing Group sues 6 Southern California cities over failure to plan for housing. You know, I will say this. This was in 2022. This article came out. So every single housing plan that has come out in California and Hawaii requires so many of the houses in the development be in a certain price range to make it more affordable. And some cities are supposed to turn in their plan if they didn't have any of those current neighborhoods that were affordable. I think a couple of them have gotten in trouble. So this is probably what they're talking about, is that they were supposed to plan for affordable housing in their area, and they just have dragged their feet and didn't file anything. I know that my friend on How to ADU highlighted this on his channel. I don't know much about the California housing market other than when it's going up and going down. I don't know the legal stuff that goes into this. I just don't know. But yeah, they're supposed to, every community is supposed to have affordable housing in their area. And some of them just acted like they didn't. Oh, was I supposed to do that? I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah. Question. Are you familiar with pocket neighborhoods, detached single family homes shared with common areas? I'm not familiar with that. Pocket neighborhoods. So it's a detached single family home, shared common areas. So, I mean, here we have these things that would be like they're called garden homes. So each person has a house on each side, and then the area in the center would be like with the garden area. They usually have some kind of like water feature in there, and it has a porch. So they share that front porch area together. Pocket neighborhoods created a small scale community in a large scale world. Eddie's showing us this. Eddie, can you scroll down a little bit? All right, pocket neighborhoods grew out of the work of Ross Chapin and his colleagues, but the idea is beyond one person or style. It is patterned after housing that fosters a sense of community among nearby neighbors while preserving their need for privacy. Examples can be found across the spectrum from small towns to suburbs and urban areas. I don't know about you, but I know my neighbors. I love saying hi to my neighbors with the mail and everything. I don't mind looking after their dogs and everything, but I don't want to share anything, because the one thing I have learned is like I've had fencing put up in a few houses, and once a storm has come through and destroyed that fencing, it becomes an argument of actually who owns it and who's going to pay for it to be repaired every single time. And Eddie and I are always the ones that end up having to pull out our wallets, because it sits there unfixed for years until Eddie and I were like, all right, we're just going to go ahead and do it. So I don't know. Sharing a space with my neighbor doesn't sound like the most pleasant thing in the world. I'm an advocate for people to have a small house with a small little yard that they can call their own. Sharing spaces with people you don't know, it just sounds like a recipe for disaster. I could be wrong, but I don't know. If anything has taught me anything in the past 3 years is that people can't get along with one another. If you have a difference in opinion, people cannot get along with one another. That's interesting, though. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. Pocket neighborhoods. I'm going to actually write that down. Pocket neighborhoods. Pocket. Kind of sounds kind of cute, a pocket neighborhood, like Polly Pocket. Property line wars. Yes, and that's another thing. Property line. Like this family will probably kill me. When I was a kid, the next door neighbors, the Whitakers, their dad would scream at us all the time, get off my property, get off my property. And there was this whole backyard that was just woods. I mean, there was no yard there. Everybody had like a strip of grass, and then there was all these woods, but it was still part of your property, but everybody walked through the woods, but he didn't like it. So one day he goes out there, he starts cutting down trees to scale off for us to know where his property line was. And of course, us being kids and kind of sarcastic, we would stand on those logs just to annoy him. And he would get so hot mad. And come to find out, when we were going to sell, his logged property line was on our side the whole entire time. Mr. Whitaker. He was so upset. His crazy kids. He had 8 kids, but he was worried about us 4 over there, on his property in the woods. Peter has a question. Says, with the interwebs, people can now live anywhere and comfortably pay more than the local population. Do you think it is more impactful than people realize? It's going to be. I don't know if you know this or you've seen it, but there has been a large rise of people leaving the United States because they can work anywhere in the world. And there's other countries that are enticing Americans to come live there because they have a decrease in population. So for Americans to come in there and spend their income in their country makes them very happy. They even have like something called like a gold visa. They offer them all sorts of stuff. There's an area in Italy, they're like the houses are $1 because they're just wanting people to move there, but you have to have residency, at least stay there for 6 months in order to get the house for $1. But yeah, with everybody having more transient jobs, work from home type jobs, yeah, well, I mean, time will tell. But there are a record number of people leaving the United States to go work in a different country. I mean, it'd be kind of cool if somebody called me up and said, "Hey, I want you to work for this company, but we need you to move to Portugal." Okay. If the pay's right and get me on a plane, I'm going, man. Most people feel that way. Pay's right, get me there. 82% said yes on the poll. I'm going to pull up that poll. Hopefully I can turn on this volume because I know it is loud. Yeah. I'm turning down this volume because I'm going to go ahead and pull up the poll here. All right. It's hard for Eddie to do on his side. Okay. Forgive the ad. But yep. So let's go ahead and say yes. Oh my gosh. Why is this doing this to me? I'm not verifying this. What the heck? It's not going to give me the poll results. It's not going to give me. All right. If a moderator can give me the poll results, let me know because I'm not logging in. I'm showing everybody my password. That seems like a recipe for disaster. Why does it log me out? It does it all the time. I'm showing everybody my password. You should be able to see the poll results without having to log in. That seems ridiculous. It does it all the time. All right. Someone's going to. See, I'm not doing that. Nope. Forget that. Whoopsie. All right. Question. What are your thoughts on investors using multiple realtors to find deals, i.e. a realtor that specializes in land or realtors that specialize in different cities and parts of the state? Well, I'm going to tell you as a real estate agent, nothing ticks off a real estate agent when they have been searching high and low for the deals. And I understand as an investor, you're trying to get you're trying to find out who's hungry enough to work with you, because a lot of times you're trying to find the least expensive, kind of sometimes the junkiest houses in the area that usually don't have the highest price point. I have worked with people before where I have busted my tail to find them a house, shown up to properties where they didn't even show up to, and only to find out that they put in an offer with another real estate agent a day later when you were there waiting for them. So if you want to like tick off some real estate agents, yeah, go ahead and do that. Now, if you're going to work with several, and one of them is in commercial, one of them's in land, those are two different types of real estate. I wouldn't even touch commercial real estate. That's not my specialty. That's not what I do. So I wouldn't be offended by that. I would say find one good real estate agent you like working with and tell them, look, I'm looking for a commercial real estate agent as well. And they can recommend somebody to you. That way you guys are all on the same page and you guys could work together. But if you got like one over here in one office and another one in another office, and then you got another person working over here and they're working their tail off, no real estate agents get paid until the day that you close on a house. And if you have a bunch of people running around for free, that's kind of a jerk move, if you ask me. That you do what you want, but I wouldn't. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like it. Find a real estate agent. If you don't like them, fire them, get another one. But don't send out 10 real estate agents to find you the same house. It's kind of a jerky thing to do. All right. We got 310 votes in. 83% of you said yes. You think that home builders should build smaller, affordable homes. 7% of you said no. Another 7% said not sure. So, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I was hoping that my audience would have said yes. I'm a little surprised that the no said it was 7%. I'm a little shocked by that. That's okay. That's okay. Oh, and only 3% said only in rural, undeveloped areas. So I did have a space on that questionnaire that said that you would prefer, you're okay with the smaller homes being built, but as long as they're out in the rural areas and you don't have to see it in the more urban areas. I know that there are some people that think that way. That's why I put that in there. Adventure Edgar says, question, the realtor I've used up to this point became upset that I decided to use a realtor that specializes in land in Mississippi. My current realtor and I live in Louisiana. The realtor I've used at this point became upset that I decided to use a realtor that specializes in land. Well, land is a totally different beast, completely different beast than single family properties. If you do not know how to sell land or understand what a piece of land needs and what all there's so many different things, aspects of land. So if you're working with a real estate agent that specializes in land and the other real estate agent who specializes in single family properties got their feelings hurt because you worked with another agent that specializes in land, I'm sorry, too bad. I mean, people get their feelings hurt. That's out of their wheelhouse. That's not what they specialize in. And we can't all be good at everything, I'm a real estate agent. Could I sell a piece of commercial property? I could, but would I have done a really good job for that person selling them that piece of property? Absolutely not, because I don't know everything that goes ins and outs of commercial property. That's not my specialty. But if you show me a piece of dirt, I can show you exactly what you need. I can tell you all the stuff. I have boots in my truck for a reason, because when people ask me, see a piece of land, I'll be like, people laugh, I'll be in a full skirt and have muck boots on and walk in a piece of dirt with people. But that's because I've specialized in that, I understand that. Yeah. Some agents just, you can't do it all. I'm sorry. You can't do it all. Question. A lot of people look up. I and a lot of people look up to you for real estate advice. What do you look up to? Who do you look up to? Oh, who do I look up to as far as real estate advice? Or just in general? Just in general. If you want to know who I look up to as a person, it would probably be my dad. And then don't gag when I tell you this, but I admire my husband so much, like all the time. Like if I sit there and I think about it, from where he's come to the person he is today, and what a great dad he is. Like he's like, there's a song that's like, by the Foo Fighters that it's called Hero, and I used to tell him all the time, that's my song to you, because he really is my hero. I think he's an incredible guy, and my dad is probably the smartest person on the planet. So I mean, some of the best advice I ever got in life came from my dad, so that's who I look up to. But when it comes to YouTube, I will say Daryl Eves is my mentor. Mentor, definitely. I love me some Daryl Eves. Eddie's got some private chats for me. I wonder if we can read them out loud. He's mad at me right now. All right. Oh, next question. He's mad at me because I was telling him he's my hero. I didn't mean to make you cry, Dad. Now you're making me cry because I made you cry. Oh, Dad. Eddie, I think Eddie fell off the radar. Don't forget to hit the like button. Eddie fell off the radar because I said he was my hero. Byron Thomas said, can a floor plan that is not available from a builder be used by a house manufacturer to be built? Can a floor plan that is not available from a builder be used as a house manufacturer be built? So what you're saying is, like, you have a blueprint of a house that you would like to have built, and you're wondering if you could take it to like a modular home manufacturer to see if you could have that plan built. You'd have to ask them. I mean, every manufacturer is going to have different processes when it comes to that. Most likely they'll say, well, we have something very similar to, what do you think about this floor plan? And a lot of them have customizable floor plans anyways. But most builders, if you come to them with a floor plan, they kind of hem and haw because they have their one specific way that they've been building houses forever. And they're like, well, like, you can move the closet here. Like, they really just want to stick to their own plans. Technically, to your answer, yes. But it would be hard to find a manufacturer that would build that exactly the way to the floor plan that you would want. And you might be charged extra because you're not using their standard floor plans. So that would be up to you if you wanted to pay that kind of cost. It'd be up to you. All right. Jess has a question and says, is there a loan or loans that can be acquired for when looking for land or building a tiny home, or does it have to be paid out of pocket? So when it comes to a tiny home, they have to still meet square footage requirements. And I know this is going to surprise many of you. Most lenders will not lend out mortgage money for a mortgage for less than $100,000. It used to be less than $65,000. It's just very difficult because they don't make a lot of money at home. Or they don't make a lot of money on those types of mortgages. So in theory, what you would have to do is probably buy the land. You could buy yourself, get a mortgage for the land itself. And then you would have to build your tiny home and get a personal loan for that tiny home, because you can't get a mortgage on a tiny home. You're leasing it or financing it in some way, but not with a mortgage. Not with a mortgage, because they don't do them. Like I think VA homes, I think they have to be over 500 square feet in order for a VA to qualify for VA. I have to get somebody on here to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Excuse me. Me in Tennessee has a question that says, when are we going to see the crystal ball again? I don't know. The crystal ball, like, for some reason kind of disappears around my office, because people come into my office and they pick it up and they start playing with it and they put it down somewhere. Oh, I have it. You want to see the crystal ball? I'll show you the crystal ball. All right. You want my crystal ball? Here's my crystal ball prediction right here. The housing market is going to be incredibly crazy for another year. That's my prediction. That's my prediction. I forget how small Kristina's head is. I'm only 5'1", and I weigh 120 pounds. I'm a little thing. I dress like a marshmallow. I look like the way I dress, I look like I'm about 200 pounds, but I'm really not. I just like wearing oversized clothes. Question is, oh, Eddie already put this one up here. I got Eddie all off track today. Poor Eddie. Is Montana still affordable? Not Bozeman, that's for sure. Do you know that in Bozeman, like I had Will Friedner on here, and he has a channel that's like living in Montana, and he said that it's so expensive there that they've actually like created tiny home or housing for the people that work there like during the summertime, because it's like a vacation spot, because they couldn't find, nobody could work there because there was no place for them to live. So they like are creating housing in tiny homes for people to be able to work in the area. Crazy, right? Crazy. Because you think about it, if you live in an area that's a vacation spot, all those kids come in, they want to wait tables and bus tables and, like all the things that happen during that vacation time. But if everything in the area is over 300,000, how are those kids going to afford it? Right. And then there's nothing for them to rent. So it's crazy, they have to come up with a better solution. That's for sure. That's for sure. Oh, who do I look up to for real estate advice? Oh my God. I look at so many sources when it comes to real estate advice, by the way. Eddie showed me that question. For real estate advice, I don't get advice from anybody. I listen to everybody's opinions, and I kind of formulate my own opinion from those opinions. Because believe it or not, we look at the real estate as, it's more than four walls and a door. But when you look to people that like follow the numbers, to them, it's just numbers. The data never lies, though. But the way that data is presented can be a lie, because you can take any chart and make it seem like it's desperation and terrible. But you can take that same chart and explain it to them the way it was intended to be explained in the first place. I have sit on this YouTube often and watch some of these channels that people have sent video links to me, and they take one semblance of the truth from an article or a chart, inflate it, make it sound so incredibly scary when they didn't even finish the whole sentence of that article. Like maybe, the big word maybe, or it could possibly happen if all these other things fell in line, then we would have a foreclosure disaster, right? They'll do that. Like, we're heading for a foreclosure disaster. And they show this article, and then they show this chart. And then I'm like, yeah, but read the rest of the article. It's not happening. We're nowhere near a foreclosure disaster. We're not even at pre-pandemic levels. We're not even close. And most of those homes that you see in foreclosure right now were supposed to be foreclosed on in 2019. Like, it just is. I always take a lot of, I wouldn't say I look up into anybody. I listen to everybody, and I formulate my own opinions for YouTube. That's for sure. That's for sure. All right, here, Eddie's going to go ahead and put another question on the screen. How about trailer parks? Where the owners of the mobile homes actually own the parcels? So I've done several videos about investors buying up trailer park homes or manufactured home parks, and they have raised the rent. I know that I don't know of many parks that actually the owners own the piece of land. If they do, and you're asking if you could finance that, yeah, you can finance. You could roll in the parcel of land with the manufactured home and become real property. Technically, unless there's some other reason why you couldn't in that specific area. But I don't know of many parks where you own the land too. Most of them you rent that piece of land underneath the manufactured home, and then they raise the rents accordingly to maintain that park. If anybody's looking for a park though, and you're like, look, I want a manufactured home. I don't want to have to deal with any of that, but I don't want to have a corporate investor come in and steal my house from me. Look for manufactured home parks that are a co-op or a cooperative manufactured home park. That means that everybody in the neighborhood has a piece. It's like an HOA basically, or like if you think about condominium associations, it's the same kind of thing. Everybody has a vested interest to keep the park looking nice and up to date. And then it levels out your payments. So you're not seeing a huge increase like you have there's so many articles right now. It's disgusting that these corporate investors have come through and purchased up all these parks, and they're hiking up the rents, $600. And when somebody's on a fixed income, and then all of a sudden they get this notice that their rent for their lot is going up $600 a month, it's so beyond what they can afford. And the people that own the park don't care. They literally do not care. And there's nothing to stop them. There's no regulation to stop that from happening. It's really gross. And if you didn't know, a good portion of elderly live in manufactured home parks. So there's no place for them to go. It's disgusting. How does a property with an easement work? Well, that's going to be different in every state. I can't give you a blanket statement on that. I wish I could. There is no like set standard for every single state how easements work. Some areas will say you can build on it. Some say you can't. Sometimes you have to get some kind of special permit for the easement area. I mean, I don't have a blanket answer for you on that. I'm sorry. That's the thing. Like, we could talk real estate all we want, but a lot of times especially when it comes to building, the permitting process for every state is different. The closing process for every state is completely different. Up north, my friend in New Jersey, they don't even write. I don't even think they write the purchase agreement. The attorneys write the purchase agreement, and all the real estate agents is negotiating like the terms ahead of time, and then the attorneys on each side kind of argue out the details on those terms, and then like everything's done with the attorneys, and then it goes to a title office. We don't have that here in Louisiana, so it's just different everywhere. African Dreams and Hayes says, you still have to pay U.S. taxes if you're a U.S. citizen? Yeah, of course you do. Yep, you're going to live here in the United States as a U.S. citizen. You're going to have to pay U.S. taxes. You got property taxes. You have state, local taxes. You have income taxes. You have, did I say property taxes? There's so many different taxes. And you know that whole saying like no double taxation. Yeah, we get double taxed all the time. We get double, triple, quadruple taxed. Like, I remember reading that as a kid, like fourth grade, social studies. They're like, oh, you can't have double taxation. And then as I got older, I'm like, I'm getting double taxed on a lot of stuff that we're not supposed to be double taxed on. Adventure Edgar says, not using multiple realtors for the same property, just one realtor for each specialty. My main realtor wants all my deals, but doesn't have experience with land. Well, she may want them all, but if she doesn't have the experience with land, I'm sorry, too bad. She just is going to have to get her feelings hurt. I'm sorry. That's my opinion, by the way. That's just my opinion. Don't get me in trouble. Like, I don't want it all. If I don't know how to represent you fairly, and we're at the end of the deal, I feel like $1 million because I know I did my job awesome, I am not taking it. There's no way. I'm not doing it. Nope. There's like all these homes, camp homes on the river here, and that is a completely different beast. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, but I surely give it to my friend Donna Vilar in a heartbeat. She does them all the time. So no prediction. Yeah, no prediction. My prediction is the housing market is going to be crazy. How do you break up How do you break up with a realtor and move to another one respectfully? So if you have the biggest cojones in the world, you could just call them up and say, hey, I don't think this is really working out. I'm going to go with another real estate agent. You could do that. But most people don't feel very comfortable calling them up and having that conversation. So just a nice email. And you just say, I really appreciate the work that you've done for us. It just seems that we're not on the same page with our journey in finding a piece of property. We decided to go with another real estate agent at this time, but we thank you for your service. And then you sign your name and you go on to the next one. You might lose a little bit of sleep over it because you feel bad, but you just move on. It's okay to break up with real estate agents. And even real estate agents break up with clients sometimes. Sometimes it just isn't a good match. As you know, we can't get along with everybody. There's just as many crazy real estate agents as there are crazy people, and not everybody's crazy gels with each other. I'm totally nuts. I know that. And sometimes I don't gel with everybody because I'm too nuts for them. And other people, we get along great. We're best friends, but you know what I'm saying. Christian Mama says, do we really need real estate agents to begin with? Grandpa bought his house from an owner. No middleman, no fees, no loans. I've toyed with this. The thing is that you have to have faith that you understand the real estate contract enough to fill it out yourself. There are so many ways that I know, me as a real estate agent, I can fill out that purchase agreement in a way that protects my buyer much more than if they were to do it themselves. It just may look like some blank spaces that they're throwing random numbers in and, asking for certain things. And it doesn't look like it's that difficult. But if you fill out that purchase agreement wrong, you may be stuck with a house that you never wanted. Or you may be stuck with a house that you had an inspection with and you're still stuck with it and you're forced to buy it if you don't know how to fill out that purchase agreement the right way. If you're going to go the I don't want to be represented route, I strongly suggest before you sign anything, at least go to an attorney's office and have them look it over, because you do not want to put yourself in a position that you're going to be making a huge mistake buying a home that isn't going to work for you financially, and it's not the right kind of house. Like just make sure that if you're going to do that. And I will tell you, the people that will lie to you the most when it comes to purchasing a house is people that you're buying your house from that happens to be family. I know that sounds absolutely insane, but it happens. Family members will lie to sell their house to other family members, and they know that the other family member isn't going to say anything after they purchase the house. They may have ruined that relationship forever, but they don't care, because the family that sold them that was lying, they were like, I didn't care if I ever see them again. I got my paycheck. Just think about that. Just think about that. Mia's mommy says, a new built listed 200 days ago with an RE builder. What should my plan of action be to get the lower price? Or is that an advantage there at all? So the real estate agent is the builder themselves. Is that what you're saying? I'm assuming that's what you're saying. And I wouldn't, even though it said it was built 200 or been on the market for 200 days, that means that they probably started building it 200 days ago. I can attest to this because I've been in this business since 2007. Builders will put their houses on the market when there's not even a slab. They'll just show you a rendering of the house in hopes that you put a contract on it. It doesn't really genuinely get sold in most cases until the drywall's up. Once the drywall's up, then all of a sudden people can envision it and it sells a lot quicker. Unless the area has not decreased in price, I don't see you getting a deal on it. But that would be from me and my perspective in my specific market. I would ask a real estate agent in your area if you can get something called a CMA, cost market analysis, that shows you exactly what's going on in that specific area to see if anybody's reducing the price of their brand new homes for something similar to what you're looking at, and see what the market is doing. So that way, you know what kind of leverage you have. And then you can show that to them. Like, look, I'm not trying to rob you. I already know that homes in the area have already gone down $10,000. I'm just asking you to go in line with the rest of the neighborhood or the rest of the county. Then you're showing facts. And then a lot of times when you show a seller facts, a lot of times they will come down on their price. So that's what I would. The house was completed in October 2020. Oh, and it still hasn't sold? Yeah, work them. Throw a number at them. See what happens. Yeah, work that number. If it's been sitting there that long and it hasn't sold yet, like, they need to come to reality. They might be in some kind of like financial problems. They might not be able to sell it even though it's for sale. Because I've seen that before, where a house was for sale and the company was in bankruptcy, and they couldn't sell the houses even if they wanted to, even though the signs were up. It's crazy. But if you're looking for a real estate agent in your specific area that you want me to recommend to you to get you that cost market analysis, just go to my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com, and fill out the form for the referral. All you have to do is hit one of those pink buttons, fill out the referral form, put your phone number there, put your email address there, and I'll connect you with a real estate agent. Make sure you hit the referral part, not the collaboration part. The collaboration part's for companies. Hit the referral part. Okay. Debbie Johnson has a question. Says, thoughts on using express home buyers, no fees, sell as is versus using a real estate agent. Well, a lot of those companies aren't doing too hot right now. Just FYI, you may want to look into it. I don't have any thoughts. Express home buyers. I've never heard of express home buyers. I've heard of express home sellers, where they're trying to sell their houses and they use like open door to sell it. And they say no fees, no closing cost fees or whatever, but there's fees. They get their money one way or the other. And it's been proven many, many times by many real estate agents that in the end, they made more money. I'll tell you, the only time that real estate agents couldn't win with listing was during the pandemic, because all those companies like Open Door, when Redfin was buying houses, all those companies were overpaying, and they were asking for no repairs. Zillow was buying houses over asking price, like $20,000, $30,000. And, no real estate agent could have sold it for that much more. So that, like, a lot of real estate agents like, no, go with that company. Go ahead. Get your money. That's a lot of money. Get $20,000 more. And a couple of real estate agents sold their houses that way too, because they knew that they were overpaying for it. Whatever gets you more money in the long run. As a real estate agent, I don't care. I want you to make as much money as you can. The world has made as much money as they could off your back. Make as much money as you can when you can. Question: is the far south Texas area still affordable? Depends on where you're talking about in Texas. I mean, it's a humongous state. So far south, like close to like Brownsville, are you talking about? Because Brownsville used to be like very affordable, very, very, very affordable. And it's gone up in price because of Elon Musk's factories he's put out there. I mean, I don't know. You would have to give me a specific. So. All right. V-Man says, is it possible to get a HELOC loan on a rental property, or is it only on a primary home? Thank you. That is going to depend on the state. So like a friend of mine, Colorado, yes, they could do it. They can do that on a secondary home. Here in Louisiana, we do not do that. You cannot get a HELOC on a rental property. That is going to depend on the state. Robin said, what do you think about van life? Do you know if any digital nomads can write off a portion of as an office? I actually have a friend who has a van that they live in. I'll have to ask them if they can write off anything. And now anything that relates to their job, yes, but I don't know of anything that relates to the van and where they live. Like the desk, they could write off, the computer they could write off, but I don't know about the actual van. Maybe the taxes on the van, maybe. You would have to talk to a CPA about that. I'm not really sure about that at all. Don't forget to hit the like button. Yes, everybody, don't forget to hit the like button. We're rounding up at 1 hour and 15 minutes. I've been talking your ear off. Thank you so much for spending your Sunday with me. If you need me, just go to my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com. Go ahead and fill out one of those, hit the pink button, hit one of those buttons, get a hold of me, and I'll find you a real estate agent in your area. If you have any questions, you can put them in there as well. Also, we are also on podcasting. So if you are interested in listening to this, I don't know why you would want to listen to me ramble in your car, but if you want to listen to me after this in your car, all of these are recorded and put it on my podcast channel. All you have to do is look for Kristina Smallhorn, and I'm on anywhere you can get a podcast. Number one right now is Apple. You can find me on Apple. So anyways, I want to say thank you to everybody that has hung out with me. Over 355 people were here on the live stream today. I don't know what the full number was, but I want to thank you for listening to my ramble for over an hour and 15 minutes about real estate. I was flying by the seat of my pants today because I was not mentally prepared when Eddie said, you have 5 minutes left. You have 5 minutes before you have to be live. I made myself have a panic attack right before I got on here. I was like trying so hard to catch my breath. So thank you for putting up with me today. I hope you had an interesting conversation with me, and thank you for running the show for me. You asked a lot of great questions, and that always helps me along the way. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much. Have a great Sunday, and we'll see you next week. If you have anything that you want me to discuss next week, make sure you put it in the comments section below, and your idea may be focused next Sunday. Bye, everybody. Bye.